This is COMiX Newswire giving you the buzz coming off the wire about the comic book industry. Turn that volume up and give us a few minutes to keep you in the loop of everything going on in the industry today.
And yes, I did play the wrong intro at first. That was just the reality of it. Josh is with me. We're going to talk about some news. This has been a troubling time in America. We're not going to focus that on today's show. We're going to get right back into comic news, and we're going to talk about comic books, what we're good at. There are other people talking about other things that are smarter definitely than me, and I'm going to leave that to them. That's why we weren't on last week. We're on this week to talk about comic books like it should be and give you fans some insight to what we're seeing. There is some stuff going on this week. We're going to get hot and heavy into it. We're going to show it off now. Well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to show you our site, of course. We're going to bring that into the picture right now, and me and Josh will be on the side. But before this, and this is going to be the news wire, of course, right there. But before we get into that, I want Josh to introduce himself. Most of you know me, but well, I'm not sure who knows Josh.
Hey, guys. My name is Josh Lyman. I've been doing comic books, and I've been doing art for the last easily the last decade, if not more, full time. And you guys can check me out at Art of Josh Lyman on social media if you like. And other than that, I'm just happy to be here and give a little bit of my own 2 cents on this.
All right. So let's get into this. So, of course, this is the Comics News Program, which is brought to you by the ComicBookAdvocates.com and myself. We are now live on YouTube and Facebook. This week's Last Rights, these are actual Kickstarters that don't have much time left. We did get your feedback that you don't want to watch the videos, so we're only going to call them out. So you can get As Seen on TV, the first collection of the Ike and Joe comic strip. XCT Fractured Worlds is another action-packed adventure within the XCT universe. The Epics of Inkendu, and this is featuring a hero with autism, and is what could be the sequel to the oldest story in human history. Travis Gibb is on with Parallels 1 and 2 anthology stories. It's a collection of Travis Gibb's anthology writing in 2 separate volumes. They collect rare and hard-to-find shorts. I guess they're not rare and hard to find anymore as they're collected into this.
Yes, in one brand new limited edition.
Yeah, Tits, and who doesn't like Tits? Number 9. They're getting ready to end the first run of the series. I don't know if there'll be a second series, but this is it. This is the episode before the season finale. Make sure to get your hands on Tits today. And we have Doomsday TV. I thought I was watching that recently. It was called CNN. Doomsday TV issues 1 through 3, and Asteroid hurtles towards us, making impact within 7 years. What would you do with the timeline?
I feel like that was a game on a swipe left, swipe right thing.
It was definitely. That's not original. I know there was one that was like 12 months, and they were doing it on HBO, and it got canceled. Not an original idea, but still interesting. I mean, it's one of those things that'll make you ponder, you and your friends, for hours what you would do. And if you want to
storytellers, right?
Yeah. And if you want to find out more about what's crowdfunding, just click on the now crowdfunding image right here. We will have Paul Roof and Brian K. Morris on the show next week. We don't have them on this week solely because we weren't sure with everything that was going on what we were going to be doing this week. So because it's so early in the week and we decided to go on Monday, we didn't have time to have them prepare. We are proud to say the Comic-Con, and we're calling it ComCons, because of San Diego suing people over Comic-Con. So I have to be very careful so I don't get sued. So we use ComCons from now on. This is going to be the forecast. Believe it or not, Tampa Bay scheduled to go off July 10th, 11th, and 12th. Only show so far I know officially still green-lit. If there are other shows, please let us know. We're excited to bring back the forecast. That records on Thursdays. It'll probably record in the AM hours around 11 a.m. And the Indie News is brought to you by, of course, Comic Book Advocates Network on actually Facebook. And here's my profile real quick as we go there. And all you got to do to get to the network is type in network in the search bar with comic. There we go. Load. Facebook's been loading slow today. Comic Book Advocates Network. Just type that in the bar over here. You'll be brought to it. And we're going to start off here. So this is one thing I wanted to ask you, Josh. We didn't get into this last week, and we are going to be timing these segments so you guys know. So we're going to put up 10 minutes to go through what's in this actual group right now, and we're going to be timing these segments exactly like a television show would. So we have 10 minutes to go over some stuff. First thing I wanted to ask you, Josh, what do you think about the fact that our site is now all press release only? You can only have your article covered if you write an official press release.
I think it's good in the sense of that it actually inspires people to, actually have a level instead of just copy and pasting what they think is the most brilliant thing ever, that they have to adapt and they have to go to a certain, hey, we need at least this, we need this kind of synopsis, we need the one sentence and the paragraph, and where you can find those things. And that sometimes that's all you really need. And if you can't convey your story in four sentences or 5 sentences, as a whole, then maybe just needs to be restructured. But that's just, my general idea on that.
Do you respect it more when you see a creator who's actually gone that extra step to be professional?
I do. It's a little thing, but it's just like, when you do comic events or come to comic shows and things, you have to listen to somebody's rhetoric as they try to expand and tell everything about their original content or their characters, or even me, if I'm talking about a piece of art or a project that I worked on. Sometimes you just got to keep it simple. And if you can do that efficiently and encourage people by keeping it that simple, to be more interested in more content and more information, ask questions, and go and hunt your stuff down through social media, you're doing something right. The teaser for art. If you show a thumbnail or you show the sketch work for it.
I completely agree. And one of the reasons we're doing this, and someone had tried to frame this as us trying to punish people. And I thought it was the most ridiculous thing in the world. Why would this be a punishment? And I suddenly realized it's people don't want to take that extra minute to look professional. They want someone else to do it. And I've dealt with this in my career as an advocator. People wanting me to do all the work for them. Do you think that's a thing in actual comic books right now from the independent level? Do you think people are a little too lazy for their own good? Comfort becomes before professionalism?
I think our biggest problem right now isn't so much either of those things. It's the appearance of being either professional or being, in control, independent, whatever have you. It's the social image. What this thing is what perpetuates it. It's not so much being lazy. It's just them going, hey, this is what I am, and I'm so used to just promoting this way, be it some bad joke, that they constantly use, or, how much they hate a band or anything like that. It just, nowadays it's more about the image instead of putting in the work in. And I do believe that, hey, just setting up so you have to adapt. There are certain events around the country that it's a requirement that you have to fill out. Like, if it was on paper, it would be a 2 or 3 page application, and you have to prove everything. It's almost like a job application. You'd be like, here's my credits, here's my social media, here's my social media standing, here's my most recent work with said publishers. And if you don't hit a certain bar, you're out. So if you have some website, if you want to establish any form of credibility, I believe it's more prudent just to set up and be like, hey, here's a quick guideline, because otherwise, you'll take, it'll be like Craigslist. Everything pops up. You'll be like, oh, look, it has emojis in the hyperlink. I must click it and see what's going on.
I absolutely agree. And I got to say, like, you look at something like this by Silvio Spati, and he's got beautiful art. He took the time to upload these images, and he did the right thing. This could be exactly a press release. It doesn't always have to be long. I think people make that mistake about a press release. They think they have to, like, release a memo. It's not a memo you're releasing. Here, I'm going to go over it. And mind you, I didn't do this, so I'm just bringing it up. And tell me if it's missing anything, Josh. We got the teaser image. We got the title. The Seventh Sister Zero is live on Kickstarter. Here's the link. So we got the link out of the way. In this special Zero issue, we travel back to a lonely planet where Merope, the seventh sister, and her enemy, the Albarnio, clash. She is the seventh sister, and she has a secret that could change the world. I don't know why they're both seven sisters. I don't know the series, so it could be in order. Meanwhile, let's take a look back to issue number 1. Here on pages 6 to 9, Epidurus Alexander R.I.P. Jones is attempting to stop a gang of domestic terrorists that threaten to destabilize the relations between the United States and the Republic of Texas. Wow, I did not see the Republic of Texas being part of what they're showing up here. The Seventh Sister is illustrated by Raphael Lahalanis. Sorry, I know that's wrong. And colored by Arthur Hazley. Cover by Raphael again, and colored by Ivan Nuez. So do you think that's missing anything? To me, that's a perfect press release. Maybe
there's some grammar. There's some grammar issues, and as far as like sales pitch wise, it's not that great. But I mean, that's just me being critical pre-caffeine kicking in.
Well, that's a good
I think it does cover a lot of things. You got here's your link for what we're trying to promote, the issue 0. You know, you spend more time focusing on something that's already been done, even though you have the visuals, which is proof of concept. You could just be like, you know, in case you're curious what this is going to be looking at, we're going to be using the same team from issue 1 here. You know, and here's sample pages, whatever, insert number from that issue. But in that case, what I would do is I would emphasize who the artist and the writer team and everything beforehand. But this isn't Kickstarter pause. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's kind of straight and to the point. I might change it up and try and look at keeping it down to 2 paragraphs versus splitting it up every 2 sentences. But that's all. I mean, that's just my opinion on it.
It conveys, and of course, like we did a whole panel about pitching. You guys can go back and watch. You do want to nail it with the pitch, and there's no better way to put it than it's a hook in the water. You want to hook the reader. It's just that simple. Don't try to over-explain, get them interested. You want them to go to this link. That's the point. So don't feel like you got to sell them here. You just got to get them interested in this. That's what a press release is. It's getting people interested enough to click what's next. And of course, someone who knows how to draw interest is our good friend Christy Shin, and she's working on her demon bitch. Going pretty good. Exciting stuff. She says she's really proud about unfriending people. That's because this is Demon Bitch, not actually Christy. That's the character. Is really proud about unfriending people. That's because she'd rather do it before anyone else does it. I'll have someone on lunch hour talking today, and this was, so I guess today she had a cool guest on. But I mean, this is it. Again, something that's easily shared. It tells the point. Like Josh said, a paragraph or 2. It doesn't need a lot. But I do say if you're gonna invite a guest, make sure to write out your guest. That's it, Christy. If you watch this, Christy, because I don't know that person by their hashtag or their whatever their call sign is, you know, I just don't know who they are, and I would like to know actually. So,
from near as I can tell, I spent about 20 minutes going through Christy's stuff earlier yesterday, and it seems like there's a large portion of cross promotion through like MailChimp and a few other things, which is good for crowdfunding, and that way you don't have to be on Facebook all the time. But it looks like what she does is she integrates whatever that weekly comic is that she's doing the live stream and brings the guest in. She brings in whatever the social commentary of what's going on in the world. And she also has like absolutely no filter from the persona that she portrays, at least. So you know, it's its own thing. I am like, hey, it's all real monsters. I can dig it.
Yeah, and I really appreciate, especially in this climate, someone taking those chances with the jokes and actually bringing to light something. So we need more of that.
Yeah.
All right, so we have this. This is Gateway by Bradley Potts. See, this doesn't invite me. I like Bradley Potts. I love what he does, but he always does this. He gives me nothing. If I don't know what I'm walking into right now, Bradley, help me out. Sell me. This week on Stalker, is sabotage responsible for tragedy? That's just a little too little. You haven't invited anyone new. You're assuming I know what you're talking about. Am I wrong, Josh?
You're not wrong. I do think that as far as like a tagline, if you're doing a weekly comic, I would probably go with the TV guide principle. Yes, the TV guide doesn't really technically exist anymore, but if we're channel surfing through any form of media, or if we're looking through Previews magazine, you know, you probably want to have at least 2 sentences. You know, and you're like, you know, I don't know if Stalker has a protagonist based on this alone, and that's my only thing right now. This is, what does it say? Say C. Navano? Or
Bay Navarro.
Okay, who is that? I don't understand who that is.
Does that make it easier for you to read?
Slightly, yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's a little pixelation, but I was just like, is that the artist? Is that the writer? What's going on?
We've given some congratulations to some Kickstarters and Indiegogos. Lilith and Mary successfully funded, as did
Yay, we got some wins.
Some cool art from Anthony Moore, but okay, so here we go. He does write something down here. I guess it's for a Kickstarter.
For an art book or
there's just a link here, and I know the link's a Kickstarter. So let's see.
But there's no information underneath that?
It just says that he's pushing to get some more money. So yeah, it's for a Kickstarter. So here we go. This is actually for a Kickstarter, but you would know that because to make the more we make, the more I can deliver. Solo 88 is going to talk about action from the Limitless comics. Again, none of this I understand what it means. If you haven't pledged, that's the first time it kind of hints that it's crowdfunding. Yeah, Josh.
No, go ahead. I was looking through your page here trying to find it.
It's on Comic Book Advocates Network, not my page.
That's why.
Yeah. I can send it to you in the private chat.
You're good. I was just trying to see so I could see a little closer. That's all.
I think that a lot of times
Sarah had a question.
Sarah, we'll get to those in a minute because we're out of time anyway. I just want to see. Brian L. Hawkins gave us some art. We're just going to quickly go. Congratulations to From Blood. The timer ran out. Battle Royale Planet. And Dan Sheen is live on Kickstarter. I'm still waiting. We won't cover them on Kickstarter pause unless we get told we're allowed. There is a new disclaimer, and that disclaimer is nothing against anyone. And congratulations, by the way, to Silverline Double Feature. That is all simply because we got into some, not trouble, but creator didn't like being on Kickstarter pause. So I was like, well, you knew what we were going to do with it. And he's like, well, I didn't know it was going to be like that. So now I clearly put it out there. But you can find all these amazing things on our site all the time. All these great creators are sharing some stuff. And we're going to show it on every week's episode. Maybe we'll give it 15 minutes next week. Maybe we'll give this 20 minutes. I don't know. We're going to be adjusting from what you guys say. Now, Sarah had a question, right?
Yeah. Sarah's saying she was discussing what we were talking about. Hey, setting up a guideline. Do you find people are getting lazy? She's like, would comfortable and lazy be worded hand in hand? It seems like a lot of people are staying comfortable or as much so as possible. I don't know. From my perspective, I see it as that we do all as human beings, we kind of devolve into habits. There are certain things like first thing in the morning, I got to have a cup of coffee and a glass of water. And if I don't have those, that ruins my entire day. And sometimes that can be applied to the same thing with a comic. If they've known that something works for them for this amount of time, they just keep doing that same thing over and over and over and over. And as soon as you put up a barrier, like, for example, with me, it would be like, well, I don't go and use this pan anymore. I use the kettle, and I forgot to refill the kettle last night. And that's an objective example. I've got to fill up the kettle before I can start my routine. And in this case, filling out that form to the guidelines that they're asking for, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I feel like it's the metaphorical equivalent. Sometimes you're going to have a mild obstacle. It's not going to be something hard. It's just going to be something where, hey, you got to think a little different and work for the audience. There are some events that I'm going to go to where I'm going to wear a suit jacket, and there's some that I'm not going to. And sometimes it's just because it's way too hot out. It's the same kind of adapting. And I don't know. That's a good question. If you would say that they're hand in hand, sometimes it's just figuring out.
I don't know, because if you're a true professional, if you're professional, right, you get comfortable being professional. You do things within that guideline of comfort without being lazy. In other words, when I'm promoting my book, I'm not comfortable to go to every group every day and do it like everyone else does. I'll comfortably promote it. I guess it's what the comfort's coming from, in my opinion. If you're comfortable promoting it once a week and you think it's working, then that's fine. You're still doing it. Like if you're comfortable giving a short press release, that's fine. A lot of people don't do that. Their comfort is, well, I don't want to do this because I want to play games, so screw them. They made it too hard. I'll just do it on Instagram. That comfort. I think it's what's driving the comfort. I think when lazy and comfort are sleeping together, you got a problem. All right, so we're gonna. And she said that makes sense. She was talking to you because that was not. I don't know if she'll get back to us if she agreed with me.
It's all good.
But we're going to head back over and get back into the news. And
in the world.
Now, the thing that we're going to be talking about right now, we have a segment on here, and that's the topics of interest circulating the creative collective and all the creative news. So we actually asked some people, and we're going to put 15 minutes on our countdown for this segment. And remember, we're testing this. We're going back to a 1-hour format. We don't have commercials yet, but eventually we hope to have commercials. It's a good way to make money.
Maybe we'll get a nice little, keeps for men commercial.
That would be so funny. But we do want to get your feedback. So we put something out. We're going to keep putting it out. So here it is. This is what we asked you. It'll be a Monday segment. We wanted to know what's going on with you guys. We got some news from Pyramid Knights. Pyramid Knights, The Last Pyramid War, my new book, separate from the original Pyramid Knights series, but is related to the events of what happened in book 1. The bottom panel of the page, the same characters in the top panel. They are Osiris police officers. I don't know what that word is. So it looks like he's got something new here that he's explaining. We'll take a blow-up look at this. So this is not the regular Pyramid Knights. It seems like it's set in a different time period. So I guess this would be a spin-off for Gary. So Gary's got that stuff. So this is a rare thing. Dead Star Publishing turned 10 years old. What do you think about that, Josh? An actual indie publisher making it 10 years.
Good for them. Are they paying their people, or are they all working in just communal collaboration?
From my understanding of it, it is more publisher, less communal. So people are getting paid. I have never heard
more power to them. If everyone's paid and good to go, and it's not just, hey, we're the figurehead of printing. Hey, awesome. Glad to hear.
Yeah, and they've been going for a while. I've never actually heard anything negative, believe it or not.
I've never heard of them at all.
Well, I do know him, actually. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
So,
what are their titles? I'm trying to find this. I'm on the Comic Book Advocates website, and I can't find. Oh, press releases. Dewey.
Oh no, this was a press release. We're on. This is a different thread now. I got to send this to you in the future. Right. We're still working out the kinks, guys.
We're working the kinks out, guys. My apologies. All right.
But here it is. They have Dolphin Squad. Dolphin Squad's kind of fun. There's a dolphin with a manacle. That's right, a manacle. I don't know why, but it's awesome. And they have the 7 Shades, which I think is pretty cool. They have Dexter's Half Dozen. So, I mean, they got some titles. Definitely some cool stuff going on. So congratulations on 10 years. We have a Kickstarter mention, which, again, you guys can find all our Kickstarters on the news program or on our site.
Do you find that the plugs for those comics and things like that, does that stand as them doing creative news, or are they trying to work around the guidelines for setting up the, hey, you got to have this if you're going to want to get a plug?
Well, this is an open plug. You notice we're not talking about it much. I'll mention it and I'll move on to a real news story, because you're right. It's not necessarily news, but to them, it's huge news. To us,
hey, I'm happy for them. Please don't misunderstand, guys. I'm looking at it as like, hey, is this news or is this more plugging and promoting?
I asked for news, but I'm going to give a shout out. But this is news. Scout Comics is picking up Jonathan Hendricks, The Recount. So this is the log line. After the president is assassinated by Secret Service agent on live television, a dedicated agent must protect the vice president from a nationwide conspiracy. I guess we're picking up before the vice president's made the president.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one of those, I would assume.
During the time.
Yeah, like get him to be the president. A female Secret Service agent. So it's going to be a female. I kind of dig that. I like that. A female vice president is protecting the vice president at all costs. Conspiracy group by calling themselves the Masses. With nowhere to turn and no one to trust, these two women are completely opposing political views and beliefs work together to preserve what's left of the American democracy. I actually have a story coming out that's similar in a way. I can't talk about it much yet, but it's funny when you see someone else working on something and you're like, hey, that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying to see
Yeah,
Scout,
there.
see if we have a date. And it's not closely related. And besides, now it's on video that I already thought of this before anyone gets mad at me later. I had been working on this 6 months before I knew this. I don't have a date, just the fall. So it's got some interesting titles. It's interesting. A woman and a woman teaming up. We're going to have to see what happens with this. I'm excited. I'll be showing up to Scout. And, of course, Scout's local to me, for those who don't know. Scout is actually here in Fort Myers, Florida. So I actually can just drive down and get it. Okay, Christy Shins, here we go, another Kickstarter thing. But at least she gives us something. I do like when they give us something interesting. They just don't drop their link, you know? Oops. Hold on. Go away. That's the one thing I hate about Facebook. It tries to open things when you don't want it to.
He's like, are you sure you don't want to start this automatically?
No, thank you, you dumb. But, you know, some people, we didn't get to say this. Jim Ligwood says 2 issues of Cartoon Cuties are out, and the 3rd is close behind. Here's a little video to exposure to the series. A little video exposure. I read it wrong. All right, so we have permission to play it, so let's check this out. All right, so far no one's talking, so I guess he was really serious about there being very little. This is just, I guess, a sneak peek.
Reminds me of Minerva Mink settling down before the wolf turns into the hunky wolf from Animaniacs.
Yeah. I thought Looney Tunes myself. Pepe Le Pew.
It's like a nice little hybrid. Do.
Looks cool. Looks cool. It'll be on Amazon, so that's pretty badass. Always like to see creators successfully get. Will you go away? Damn you, Varian. I will talk to you after the show. Let's see. Jonathan. 8-page challenge. Do you know about this 8-page challenge?
I saw your thing on it as far as like what you wanted to do to create it. It reminds me of a project that I did for someone back in the early 2000s. And they had to find an artist and try and get the artist to work as cheaply as possible to tell their 8-page story. And it was an editorial class and all this other stuff. And then the book at the end would be published as an anthology.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because it's challenging everyone to get 8 artists together to work. The one thing I didn't necessarily like about the challenge was that they didn't want you to work with anyone who's getting paid for the work.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That kind of upset me just a tiny bit because I felt like I'm not used to that, you know? I'm not used
to it. If you don't pay, you don't get control.
Yeah, you don't really get the control of it. You don't, you know... I don't know. It just feels off sometimes. I don't know if that makes sense because it's not even like I can team up and give ownership to this because we're also giving this away. The trade-off I said is that anyone worked in it could then use it permanently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can put it in any book you want. The 8-page will all be able to publish it wherever. I thought that was fair. And it's the first time I'll actually ever have free work where someone's not getting something for their work. Because even with the cover you did, you should be getting in a few days your books.
Cool.
And, you know, I don't know. It feels weird, but I get it, especially because some of the people in this challenge are brand new, have never had any work into themselves ever. So I guess it makes a lot of sense, but I've gotten past that.
So here's my thing is like, all right, so just on a basic from a few other websites here. Yeah, it's the dean of the comic book school. You know, he wants to do, hey, we're going to create an anthology of all the best ones of these, and we're going to release it at New York Comic Con. That doesn't mean he's just going to give it away for free. You know, so I don't know. I'm very skeptical about it just on that alone. You know, it just sounds like, hey, we're trying to promote the school in, you know, some other fashion. And I apologize if I'm coming across as hypercritical today, but it's just one of those weird things where you're looking at stuff and you're going, Something doesn't sit right about that.
Well, I
'Cause
mean,
they're like, you're going to release an anthology with what money?
well, that's the thing. It's not going to be printed. It's going to be digital. It's going to show up at New York Comic Con, and
It's
it
going to
is
be released like in production at New York Comic Con. It's
no,
not going to be like an
going to-
iPad.
It's going to be like you can download it here.
Really?
Like
Not just
yeah, like if this is a collection, all these creators puts
it's
everyone.
only going to be digital. It's not going to be printed at all.
It is the last, as of, unless it's changed, and things do change. As of right now, my understanding was that it would never be put into print. It was not to say you couldn't print it on your own, but the collective works would not be being put into print, because then you have to worry about the logistics of who gets the money. Like you said, is this just a promotion for the comic book school? And this is ran by Buddy Scalera, who spends a lot of time educating fellow creators. So this was
And
really
he does actually have a quote in one of the articles I'm reading here that does say, we're not trying to sell anything. We're just trying to connect and creators. Yeah, we are just trying to connect and creators and help them and keep their momentum going.
yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, I applaud you for that. But if it goes into print, then that's going to be a whole other monster, because I feel like a lot of these people are going to be like, hey, do I at least get a printed copy of this?
Yeah, I've had work like that, like where I've had to reach out and be like, hey, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of anthologies, and I'm sure you understand this. Once you've worked on a few, you begin to hate them immediately. Because
I enjoy a good cinematic horror anthology personally, but I've never really, unless it's using the same characters, you have radically different artists telling radically different stories, like a Neil Gaiman anthology for Sandman. Just different monsters, really. It comes down to is they're different mediums. So I guess to each their own. We'll have to see if they try to do a print production of that, and if they do, then
I don't see Buddy. If Buddy did it, he'd do it right, because Buddy's also worked in Marvel and DC, so he's got the credentials.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Not just him working it. That's the thing.
Oh, you mean if someone else? Well, everyone's gonna. I mean, you're gonna still own your own work, so you could go out and make it yourself. But if anyone tried to print anyone else's work, that would be horrible. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
That would be devastating, and it would make me feel like this is why I don't work with people, that I don't know and I don't put together. Because a lot of times with the anthologies, you wind up in this book, and then someone comes out and says something dumb, and people are like, "Well, you worked with him." You're like, "No, I really never even talked to the guy." We never had a meeting. He was in the other side of the book as far as I was concerned. I found out he was in the book when I got my copy. But that's just me. I don't want to be associated indirectly with something that I didn't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's bad enough.
It's interesting because they're having people, because somebody's going to have to do character design sheets for free based on this.
Well, no, we're each giving our own 8-page story, so you don't need
correct. But the whole process, when you go through this website for comic book school, they have step 4, how to create a character design sheet. So somebody's having to draw character sheets for free in addition to the 8 artists.
Yeah, I don't. This is going to sound horrible, but I didn't really read most of that stuff simply because I've done the process.
A lot of reading.
I've also made a comic book.
I speed read, so for me, I'm like, what's going on here?
But I don't need those. And to be honest with you, I've never needed character designs. I mean, it's not a big thing to me. I hire the artists for the project because I'm impressed by their art, and then we talk about how to make the character better as we start the project. Right? I don't do character designs. I think they're a waste of everyone's time.
I disagree.
Budget. What's that?
I disagree. If you're going to be working with multiple characters, for example, there's a character that's a Japanese pop star that magically turns into a superhero, and I got asked to draw that character, and every single image of that character that I could find was completely different. There was no continuity to the character as far as that's concerned. The colors were different. The color tones were different. The body type was different. And it wasn't ever the superhero costume that I could find. And that in itself is a problem. If I'm being said, hey, can you draw this version of this character from 1985? And I can't find that reference in order to make my own version of that. I don't know what to do. If you establish a continuity of a character, and go, hey, these are the things that stay the same, and here's your color sheet on what you start off for your base colors, no matter what, then your artists are going to be able to work faster and more efficiently. You know, you don't have to go in and make like the here's my happy, angry, sad faces, because it's not animation. But if you have it so it's like, hey, look, the tattoos from Mercy Sparks' arms are on this arm. It's angels and, you know, it's wings and stuff. And on this one, it's angry and pitchforks and other stuff. That's going to be, you know, something that the artist is going to have to know every single time they draw. It'd be like it has 3 gates and 3 halos and 2 sets of wings, you know, or something like that. But that's just, you know, again, that's my perspective on that. From the writer's perspective, you're like, hey, it kind of slows everybody down and be like, later, you got to focus on.
I think you misunderstood what I meant. I think you're misunderstanding. I character develop as we're going. That character becomes the staple. Like when you asked me about Cat Dad and Supermom, I had reference. This is it. This is where we're going off. This is the Bible. You can
but that's your character model sheet. Yeah.
You can go away from it and make it your own, but understand this is where we start. And I remember I had to go back when Eric had colored it and he made those clouds purple. And I'm like, dude, they got to be green. I was like, you know, it won't make sense if it's not green. Plus the beard has to be a certain color. And he was like, okay. And yeah, I'm picky like you. It has to stay congruent, or at least look like it was based off the original IP, not like do whatever you want. It's just a girl. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
and that's all I'm saying is like, so when I'm referencing that particular character, you know, I'm going, hey, look, if I had a model sheet of anything to go off of, I can work off of that, and I can draw from that, and I don't have to influence my drawing on someone else's drawing, with the exception of whatever the breakdown of those characters were. Anyways, character sheets, that's a whole other monster. This 8-page comic thing, hey, more power to them. If you guys have fun and you make yourself 8 different new contacts, because it's only the writer, from my perspective, that would be working with all of them simultaneously, unless those 8 people suddenly all agree to go talk to each other about how much they hate working with this one writer, you know, in diva dishing mode. But, you know, it could be good. We could see.
And it's funny because we did run out of time on that segment, but like you said, a lot of it just became like just ads. It really wasn't like, again, what kind of irks me about creators is that they don't even understand they're undercutting themselves. And I learned this early in my career. When you're just dropping something, if it's a link, it better explain what it's doing. It has to autofill. It has to have that tagline. It has to have that interest. It has to have that image. But so many people in there were just like, you know, look what I'm doing in Indiegogo. Like, you know, like make it more, because you have to remember, and this is something to learn as Jax is running around. When you're putting in a link in a comment, as a comment, it does not, what is it? I forgot the word, where it automatically expands itself into a full thread. It just becomes this little thing that doesn't say anything. So you're now responsible for adding in the extra step. And here's why you do the extra step. That extra 10 seconds will get you a backer. While not doing it just makes you a footnote that no one pays attention to.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to be moving on to our next segment, which is brought to us by the
Indie Volt.
The mainstream news, IndieVolt.com. Give your fandom a recharge. Hosted by Randy Zimmerman, Varian Grant, and the Indie Princess. And of course, there's the new Vicky Volt official. She's not a logo. She's a mascot, right?
Mascot.
Yeah. So here we go. This is the news. We're going to give 10 minutes to everything in here. Oh, I actually didn't mean to do that.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Okay, so we'll give 10 minutes to all this stuff that we're going to be talking about. Make sure it's all up here. I guess we should just start with we'll quickly touch on this because everyone else has. And here we go. Oh, this is the preview. Sorry. Diamond has cut ties officially, and it was such a big deal that the Hollywood Reporter had to report on it. So here we go, and the video is not even loading right, and it won't go away. That's why I hate these sites. But even the Hollywood Reporter reported on it. DC goes away from Diamond. What do you think, Josh? What's your hot take?
I mean, I kind of saw it coming from a while ago. I was always wondering why Marvel always got their own property book as far as like content and things like that. But like a couple of weeks ago when they're, hey, DC had announced it, I was like, yep, so here it comes, and sure enough, the next week they were like, yeah, we're moving away from Diamond. I mean, sometimes that's a little thing. It could be as simple as, hey, I didn't get my books on time, or this is the third time that you haven't delivered my metal, or this is the fourth time that everything's shown up damaged. In this case, Diamond's like, you pay us, and then we might send you books, based on what's in our storage. We might not. That whole thing turned into its own cluster. And so, hey, if anything, it's making the market a little bit more competitive. And we'll see what happens. If Diamond ends up being the only distributor for Marvel, or one of two distributors for Marvel, that's going to be their own thing. We'll see what happens.
All right. Real quick, I did find out this week, Travis Gibb had dug it out for me, and we're out of time, that they do take back returns. And I reached out to a friend and asked about returns. And like Josh said, it's an impossible process. They're supposed to take them, but good luck getting them to take them is basically the game that they play. And they do try to time you out. So I could see why Diamond's not anyone's favorite child anymore. We're going to move on, though, because everyone's talking about it. I think we should give some time to things like this, previews for everything DC arriving. And this is the last time that they're going to be in previews, actually. Tuesday, June 9th is the last time DC goes through previews. Yep. So they got a lot of stuff going on. They have Batman 92, and Batman 92 has been talked about a lot. Harley Quinn 73 is going to be one of the last books. The Batman's Grave. Have you heard anything about the Batman's Grave?
The Batman's Grave is actually a continuing series as far as that's concerned. It's been out for, it's issue 7. I haven't actually read that particular book yet. I do know Harley is only going to be 75 issues.
I did recently hear that she got canceled, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where certain titles can move very quickly, and then depending on the market, it may change, it may reboot. They might suddenly just make an animated Harley Quinn to go along with the animated Harley Quinn show, go with a completely different market.
Well, they just came back with the Batman animated series 1 too, so I'm sure that'll drive Harley up.
Yeah, you got to play with your test market there and be like, hey, this is rated M or this is not rated M.
But speaking of something awesome, the Joker turns 80 this year, and here is his 80th anniversary. And of course, that crowbar. If you're a fan of Batman, that crowbar sends shivers down your spine.
Well, not anymore since the retcon.
Yeah, that's true. Well, supposedly there are 3 Jokers, and this is when they're going to explain the 3 Jokers, or they're going to be curious. Do the 3 Jokers. I don't know. I'm still not sure about it. But you can see the 1, 2, 3 Jokers. That's actually on purpose. That's why I brought it up. The fact that there are 3 monkeys there, they're hinting that each one of these is a different Joker. So you notice the difference in how they dress even, and in the way they're drawn.
Same color scheme, same suit style, same bow tie.
But
flowers different. But the hair is the same. It's just a different artist style.
Pinstripes as well on one doesn't have pinstripes.
I can't see the pinstripes on this one.
Oh yeah, then over here you have the orange, and this is the one that looks like he had his
there we go. Yeah, orange. That's definitely recognizable as the crazy psycho lord.
Yeah, so it is.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I'll definitely.
I have. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm just gonna pick this up. This is definitely something I'm just gonna be on my to get.
Yeah, I have 10 issues of the blank for this coming out. Those will be arriving in the next couple of weeks. But I believe this launched today, actually.
It should have, yes.
This new comic book day, Wednesday. Stay tuned for everybody.
Well, DC is now Tuesday. And
that's right.
Wednesday. So, but DC did this thing where they released the books through their distributor, I heard, today, even though they're still in previews tomorrow. So this was going to be a cluster for a while. Luckily, the cluster's over as DC pulled everything out now. And we're telling people to stop going around and ordering from Diamond. Hey, this is something new. I didn't even see this yet. We'll just give it a shout out. Report circulating that Riverdale star for Ruby Rose replacement. So we're not going to spend a lot of time to this because it's a rumor.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think of that whole Batwoman being recast?
Honestly, I don't care.
Fair enough. Let's move on then, because we're already out of time in our hour, and we'll talk about something cool. Marvel reschedules Free Comic Book Day.
Mm.
So it is going to be, and I don't know if anyone knows this, it's now on July 15th. Free Comic Book Day. X-Men were released featuring the X of Swords prologue by Jonathan Hickman and artist Pepe Lazar, along with the second story that will also foreshadow the upcoming tale by Tom Taylor and Ibn Cialello, and nothing announced in the X titles beyond this so far. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of cool. They're going to be bringing in some Free Comic Book Day stuff. So again, that's going to be July 15th. So it's going to be right after Tampa Bay Comic.
My suspicion is there's going to be a significant less amount of those books out in circulation. For the layman's or the people who don't talk to their comic book shops as much, Free Comic Book Day is not actually free for them. They still have to buy the books. To be fair, some of them they may be able to buy them at like a 1/3 cost, but they're still, at least with certain distributors, it used to be one. You had to buy like as many of every single book, so you always ended up with like 20 titles that nobody really wanted, but you had to buy the same amount of quantity of each one of those books. So if you are going out for Free Comic Book Day to catch in and see what the plug line, the issue 0 for that X-Men is, feel free to support the shop in any way you can. Buy some other indie books, pick up some wonderful pops or whatever tickles your fancy. That's the only thing I can really recommend and say on Free Comic Book Day.
All right, so we have just about. Well, we're going to put up to 10 minutes here because these two stories.
10 minutes.
Stories. These are our main stories for today. We have
comic book adjacent.
I'm going to get the timer set, and we're going to begin right now. So here we go. We're going to start off, and for those wondering, we do have an official timer.
Woo.
So here we go. I guess we'll start with the Flash and go into the other one.
Yep.
So, Flash star Hartley Sawyer fired over racist, misogynistic tweets. Oh my God, how could someone on The Flash be making those comments, you ask? Here's my problem with this. These came out in 2012 and 2014, all right? How can we be in a society right now? And I'm going to ask Josh this. Josh, explain this to me. How can we be in a society right now where we're telling everyone to shut up, to listen, to become better, to become smarter, to become educated, if we're just going to shit on them in 6 years? What's the bonus of growth?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we live in a world where we it's a bit hypocritical. We live in a world where we're encouraged to become better people. But at the same time, we are trying to forget the past. We're trying to forget the mistakes of our past and pretend that they never happened. And if you don't apologize and if you don't try to delete it and make sure it never shows up, even if someone's a super hacker, you have to live in a world where you're pressured on something that you may say that may be considered good on some, or okay or passing fair by 98% of the population. And 5 years from now, that may change. That may change next year. One definition of one word suddenly may radically change, and it might be suddenly being deemed offensive. So you have to suddenly keep that extra energy on, hey, make sure everything I say is generic and happy and positive and can't possibly maybe misconstrued, and then monitor your past self and your past mistakes, which is counterproductive to actually becoming a better human being.
Yeah,
at least from my personal opinion.
To me, he learned his lesson. He did some stupid stuff when he was younger.
Now, I actually haven't read any of these tweets he made.
I don't want to read them out loud.
Yeah, and I don't. I'll take a look later.
Yeah. I don't want it because it could be offensive to some people
Yeah.
to hear what he did.
The dark side of this is unfortunately because we do live in this society where like, hey, you have to become better and you have to be this. It's now used as a bargaining chip in the event that you do anything wrong. Like, so when you go for you apply for any job, there's a background check, no matter what. And it doesn't matter if you're an actor or whatever have you. Somebody's going to go in and go, hey, is this person okay? And right now it's used as a bargaining chip. So if you don't agree to terms and conditions or how they run the company, or if they go, hey, we're not going to give you a raise or anything like that, that's just the quickest way that you can get rid of an actor.
Yeah, but it's got to stop. This is just enough. And let's go to his words. I'm not here to make excuses. Regardless of my intention, my words matter and they carry profound consequences. And mine can be and have caused pain and embarrassment, along with feelings I can only imagine to supporters and fans, my castmates, the crew, my colleagues, and friends. I owe them all an apology. And I owe each of you an apology. Thank you for holding me accountable. I am incredibly sorry, ashamed, and disappointed. Oh, wait a minute. My words are relevant of being meant with an intent of humor, were hurtful and unacceptable. I am ashamed I was capable of these really horrible attempts to get attention at the time. I regret them deeply. This was not acceptable behavior. These were words I threw out at a time with no thought or recognition of the harm my words could do and now have done today. I am incredibly sorry, ashamed, and disappointed in my life and myself for my ignorance back then. I want to be very clear. This is not a reflective of what I think or who I am now. Years ago, thanks to friends and experiences that helped me open my eyes, I began a journey into becoming a more responsible adult. In terms of what I said, what I do, and beyond, I am largely kept that journey private, and this is another way that I have let so many down. I still have more work to do. But how I define myself now does not take away the impacts of my words, my responsibility for them. I am very sorry. This sounds like a person being genuine, who has learned. We've all said things, and that's what bothers me. The people who go out and say, I haven't said anything, and I've said it. Right now, there are people out there saying things like you said. You know what? Here it is. Here's the truth. People are saying stuff right now that in 2 years is not going to be acceptable. Are we going to go back and cancel them? We can't. We have to stop going backwards. If he had done this within 12 months, or even during his time period of being hired, yes, I understand it. 2012, 2010, come on. We all thought the world was going to end in 2012, remember? It was Nostradamus' prediction. We were all going to die, you know?
No,
like,
the Aztecs, that's right.
Like, just think about now. We're in a pandemic, and this is it? Like, we're supposed... it aggravates me. It does not end there. It does
Human
not.
nature, unfortunately, just keeps going in the same circle.
Well, not even the same circle, because we can dive into the other side. On CBS News, we have transgender women are women. All right.
Daniel Radcliffe responds to J.K. Rowling's controversial comments.
So you know a little bit more about this than I do. I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I heard about it in passing.
Well, I find it interesting that they went with the male protagonist here on this title sentence on something this controversial. That's very entertaining to me. So long story short, gang, if you're not familiar with it already, J.K. Rowling retweeted, I guess is the expression, an article. And the article was talking, and it labeled the article as people who menstruate. And from my perspective, I was reading it, and it sounded like just somebody being snarky. She responded with something along the lines of, we used to have a word for people that menstruate. What was it again? Woman, something like basically terrible pronunciations of woman. And the LGBTQ and transgender community have interpreted it to be a slight, an attack towards them. And it is now to the point that there is a large movement that is trying to, quote, cancel J.K. Rowling, unquote, and pretend that she is no longer relevant, as well as try to push her away from the Harry Potter series. And J.K. Rowling, first and foremost, is not a perfect human being. She makes a lot of things at the last minute. The irony is that she was a big proponent for the LGBTQ community, because after her books had finished in publication, she suddenly announced that one of her main, most powerful characters, who dies in the books, was gay, and it really didn't develop the book anymore, but it did increase their sales after all the books had come out, so people would reread the books and see if there was anything that they missed in subtext. Apparently she's made multiple websites in regards to facts and figures and little things that she never added to the books, from laboratory principles before the toilet was invented to what characters like this and that. And so, long story short, the community attacked her, and they called her out for it, and she defended herself, and it did not help matters. Those responses have definitely led to a much more negative response in this, and right now everyone's trying to make it so that the creator of Harry Potter will no longer have any control or influence over Harry Potter.
All right. I'll give my thoughts in a final moment. Just real quick, we're going to just go to some programming for the rest of the week.
Yeah, there we go.
Comics and Nuts and Bolts is on Monday. The Comics Newswire, hosted by me, is going on right now. Tomorrow we'll have Kickstarter Pause. We did get skipped a week with our new show, The 7 Reasons. That will be back next week. I believe Demon Phil is going to be naming the Thursday show The Demon's Domain. The Comic Noob is on Friday. On the weekends, we do whatever we want, if we want to do anything at all. Of course, I'll be on Indie Vault at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday. The morning show being on Thursday, and there is the amazing show that is Geekgasm at 9 p.m. on Wednesdays, and The Art of War on Fridays, which Josh is also part of at times. And I do now assessments for comic books at the Indie Devils Do. That's a Geek Insider program, believe it or not, that's hosted on MrAnderson.com as well. And you guys can find that out. Remember, we have over 1,000 educational panels now live on YouTube, and we're excited to bring you as much information as we can. And that is it for the show. We have our last 2 minutes to wrap up, or 3 minutes just to wrap up the show with me and Josh. I don't know, man. There's got to be a talk. We're going to have a talk about this transgender thing, and it's going to be a hard conversation. We have that athlete problem where you got a lot of female athletes now starting to sue. There is something, and I think this is a cultural thing. We're at a point where we don't know how to talk to each other anymore. And that's go ahead.
No, I think right now we're dealing with a lot more issues with the current protests and riots and all this other stuff during what is considered Pride Month has definitely riled everyone up to be much more passionate and stronger to their opinions on certain topics. And I agree that there should be further, more logical discussions. I don't think they really should apply to comic books as far as that's concerned. I think this should be stuff that to grow and become better people, that we should definitely discuss these things between our friends and our families, and be it our fans or whatever have you. But much akin to Mr. Elongated Man there, conduct those journeys in ourselves and improve ourselves as we continue. Become better people and face what evolves from there. But I think at this point, I think they're just kind of looking for extra content to try and distract from what's going on. Whatever can get people riled up.
Look, I'll be honest with everybody. We need to learn to talk to each other and understand each other's points of views. It's just that simple. Yes, everyone has a point, but you have to find the point that works for everyone. We have to get to the center that works for us as a community, because the United States of America, where we live, it's a community. The comic book people, it's an industry, but there are little communities in it that need to learn to talk to each other better. We can get to a place where we all respect and understand each other through words, through intelligent conversations. We can't do it by finger pointing. We can't do it by holding someone accountable for 8 years ago. That stifles human growth. That's got to stop. Go ahead, Josh.
I would say holding someone accountable for something they said 8 years ago. Yeah, but something they did, if it's actually like reprehensible. Yes.
Oh, no. If it's a crime.
But you're right. The community has to, be a higher standard. It has to be a good thing in order to have people reach a higher standard themselves.
Yep. And that's it, guys. We're out. Thank you for tuning in. Josh, where can they follow you?
Guys can find me at Art of Josh Lyman on Facebook as well as on Instagram.
And you can find me at MrAnderson.com. And, of course, check out ComicBookAdvocates.com.
Remember to be kind and share.